The biggest stories that made the headlines recently. My name is Nelson Etta. We begin with Okonjo-Iweala praising President Bola Tinubu's economic reforms, wants attention to be paid to poor and vulnerable Nigerians. Also, the federal government imposes a 7-year suspension ban on establishment of new federal tertiary institutions. And later on the show, Nasarawa governor decries high number of awaiting trial inmates after jailbreak incident. All the details in just a moment. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Let's begin with this. Earlier this week, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, praised President Bola Tinubu for stabilizing Nigeria's economy through his bold economic reforms. The former Nigerian finance minister added that while stability is important, it must be followed by measures to protect those most affected by reforms such as the removal of fuel subsidies and the unification of exchange rate changes that have driven up costs of living. The WTO DG also announced that 146 Nigerian entrepreneurs, women, have been selected to receive grants and business support under new Women Exporters Fund for the digital economy. Now, joining me to discuss this is Yusuf Harun, a policy analyst. He joins me virtually, and right here in the studio with me is a senior data scientist, Stephen Onia. Good to have you gentlemen on the program this evening. But let me begin with you right here with me in the studio, Mr. Stephen. On one hand, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala acknowledged the president's reform. She said it has stabilized the economy. But on the other hand, she also acknowledged that these reforms have left a lot, of pain along its path. First, let's talk about this stabilization of the economy that she mentioned. From your perspective as a scientist and a data analyst, what are the indicators to show that the economy currently in this country is stable?
Yes, it is stable. Our GDP indicators, our GDP indicates it with clarity. Our year-on-year growth is clear, it's obvious. I'm not an economist, but the data speaks for itself. The FX unification have actually stabilized the FX regime. If you look at the economic indicators in this country we have now, we have the macroeconomic stability. Now, the problem we are having is basically simple. We have a macroeconomic versus microeconomic paradox. Now, it's normal when you're doing this kind of reforms, when you look at a broken system, and you look at it and say, I need to remove subsidy, I need to stabilize FX, you need to do so many things. The indicators, after these years of implementation of all these strategies, it has shown with facts that the economy is stable. It doesn't mean it's growing. Don't let's mistake a stable economy for growth. No,
we'll talk about that.
They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. So we have a stable economy. Doesn't mean the people are not feeling the impact. The shock of this macroeconomic stability is being felt across the households in Nigeria. We know that. But the move Dr. Okonjo-Iweala have made is what I call a bold and confident statement, because the stability we've experienced in the economy has gone unsung for a long time. Okay. And most people will claim, yes, the homes are not experiencing it, but we'll get there when we talk about the social protection schemes that the federal government needs to put in place, which Dr. Okonjo-Iweala have also assented to. Now, if you look at what Dr. Okonjo-Iweala has done, it's not just a statement of sentiment. It's a statement because she has access to global lenders, global investors.
So she's speaking from a global binoculars.
And that gives us a global rating as a country. Because the truth is, if someone like her can come and sing well and speak well of the stability, don't forget, not growth, we've experienced so far. And stability comes with pain. Because I remember when the president came in, we all knew it was a tough terrain when he came in. But when he came in, he made it clear he was going to make bold moves. And at the point we tried to rebel this move, but most people in this country realized without this move we can have a stable economy.
Well, let me bring in Mr. Yusuf right there now. Mr. Nia here is talking about the stability of the economy as proclaimed by Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, praising the president's reforms. But she also talked about that what next, or what is needed next, is growth, growing the economy and building social safety nets. I'd like to ask you as a policy analyst, What are these safety nets she's talking about, and how do we grow the economy from this stabilized place she's talking about?
I agree with the data analyst. There's a big difference between stabilizing the economy and now you are having a flourishing one. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took this economy at a stage when the economy was really at its all-time low. We're having real debt, and we're also having a lot of insecurity, which affects the economy. So the first thing the president did in 2023, when he came in, was first he had to stabilize the economy. And this brought about some kinds of pushing effect. One of the first things it did, if not even the first, is the removal of fuel subsidy, which everybody felt by an increase in the price of fuel. And also, he also tried to give it back to the governors. We should also remember that about 4 trillion naira debts have been paid by the Nigerian government. So all these things are taking a long time before we start feeling the impact. But we can't just blame the federal government, although we operate a federal system. But the president has said repeatedly that he has disbursed billions of naira to each governors. So what are their roles? These 36 governors in Nigeria, what are their roles in stabilizing the economy? It's not only a federal system. We also have the state government and we have the local governments. So this thing has to be looked at in a holistic way. And in stabilizing the economy and in safety net you talked about, we also have to look at it from the grassroots, from the local governments.
Indeed.
Some local governments are doing very well. Some of them are building healthcare centers. We saw one LCDA like Ikosi Isheri, which Governor Sanwo-Olu went to commission, who built a state-of-the-art primary health center in an LCDA. So this is what similar governments should be doing. Also, we've seen another government who built what we call a skill acquisition center for the youths to learn how to practice things like sewing, barbing, carpentry, making of things. There's one major thing that would in the economy.
Indeed, Mr. Yusuf, thank you very much. He is talking about exports to help the economy grow. Do you agree with him? Of course, I'm going to put the same question to you. How do we grow the economy? She talked about the growth of the economy, and you've been hammering on that quite a lot. How do we then grow it?
So local capacity is very correct. Local capacity is essential to being able to grow an economy. But you know, we don't let's jump the guns. Let's jump on what we need to do. You see, there's a process for guaranteeing impact when it comes to fiscal allocation, economic planning, and social contracts. Number one, you stabilize. 2, you grow, then you move to impact. Very important.
Stabilize, grow
and impact. Now, if we go ahead and start acting like we want to teach the government on how to grow the economy, if they don't know what they're doing, they won't stabilize it. One of the critical decisions they made, which I saw came back with a lot of backlash, was the rebasing of the economy, which they did. Basing it back forward. It's a strategy. What we are talking about now is what should we do to grow it? Export is one of it, but you see, local capacity needs to go before export. But we don't have the local capacity and the infrastructure to create, make, and export. What do we want to export?
Let's simplify that. When you say local capacity, what do you mean by that?
I mean, make our industries viable.
That's
in
right.
a country where a business or an industry is powering with their own finances to provide simple things like power supply. That's as simple as power supply. I'm telling you, it's a major impeding factor to any organization, any industry that wants to produce for mass export. Let me give you an example. There are times in the past when Nigerians have exported food product and it was rejected. Why? We would have said it's the capacity to create quality product. We need to compete globally. Yes, some people believe we have the capacity, but we need to improve upon it. The government can do more by making the economy conducive for people who want to play locally, to be able to innovate, think, and use data to understand the gaps in our system. But so far, we have people who are trying to export. And we're not just talking of exporting goods, we're talking of exporting skill sets.
You know, Ms.
So if
Onia,
you train people correctly, they can export skill sets.
Ms. Onia, I wish we had all the time. There's a lot packed in this conversation that I wanted us to unravel. But we'll take a short break now, and when we return, Newsweek will continue with more conversations. Stay with us.